President Trump made it official. He's pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Accord, the landmark climate deal that nearly every country in the world has signed on to.
All right, so what are the impacts of this U.S. withdrawal? Let's bring in Ted Halstead, who's the founder and CEO of Climate Leadership Council. He joins us from Washington, D.C. this morning. Good morning, Ted. What are the immediate impacts of this, besides it's generally been a big buzzkill for many?
You're right. It's a major setback for global efforts to combat climate change, but other countries are stepping into the place. What was most interesting about President Trump's announcement, though, is that he clearly left the door open for a new approach for potentially re-entering Paris or renegotiating the deal. What the president seems to be looking for is an America First climate strategy. And 2 months ago, my group offered just that with a who's who of Republican elder statesmen, including James Baker, George Shultz, Hank Paulson. We introduced what we called the Conservative Plan for Carbon Dividends, which meets actually all of the president's tests.
Okay, so, you know, the Paris climate, it really was voluntary, right? There was no sanctions if you didn't, as your country, cut your emissions or do whatever you needed to do. So is this really just sending a different message that has really not a lot to do with the accord itself?
So it's basically saying that the United States doesn't want to comply with the accord. So it's a diplomatic blow. But in practical terms, it doesn't mean that much. What is most interesting about this moment is that there is, for the first time, a virtually united position on the part of big industry in the United States. You'll see that CEOs from a wide range of companies came out very strongly in support of staying in the accord. But more than that, they want to work towards a proactive bipartisan solution. You saw yesterday that Jeff Immelt, the head of GE, said, well, now it's time for business to step up to the plate, because industry understands that the right thing for the American economy, for the American worker, and for American growth is to embrace a clean tech future. And for that, we need climate policies. More specifically, we need to put a price on carbon. And that's what my group is focused on.
Isn't this going on, though, Ted? Aren't we seeing businesses, business leaders, states, local level, I mean, kind of proceeding as full steam ahead anyway?
We are seeing progress, but what we really need is a concrete solution. And I think what's underlying the Trump decision is that Republicans are fundamentally uncomfortable with the Democratic approach to climate policy. The Democrats, with President Obama, push primarily regulation. Republicans don't like regulation. They think it's job killing, that it's growth killing. So what we need is a market-based policy. And what the Climate Leadership Council has introduced is a plan that would, on the one hand, shrink government, but on the other hand, achieve far greater emissions reductions by putting a price on carbon, a carbon tax, and rebating all of the money raised to the American people. What you would get is less government, far greater emissions reductions, and most importantly for the public listening, all Americans would get a monthly dividend, a dividend that would total about $2,000 per year for a family of 4, and the bottom 70% of Americans would come out winning. That means 223 million Americans would win from solving climate change. This is the kind of breakthrough beyond left and right policy that really could win the day.
All right, well, we could talk to you for the next several hours.
Yeah, this is good stuff, Ted, and there's some openings on the council now that you may want to fill, that's for sure.
You can watch Ted Halstead's latest TED Talk if you want online.